Hello, my name is Lionel Grant II, and we welcome you to the 50-Yard Line Show. I'm joined today with my partner, Jonathan McMath. Jonathan, how you doing?
Doing well. Good to be with you guys.
Well, Jonathan, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for college football. This is the most exciting part of the year and it could ever be, and I'm ready for college football.
Yeah, me too. I'm pumped up, ready to go. We're just getting set a couple of hours away now from the start of college football season, and I'm thoroughly pumped up.
Well, we couldn't go any further without talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide. The #1 team in the nation, the #1 team ranked in the AP and UPI poll, the coaches poll, and of course, we would be remiss if we wouldn't talk about the player that everyone in the nation is talking about, of course, Mark Ingram.
Yeah, Mark Ingram went down to Monday's practice. He had to go see Dr. James Andrews and get an arthroscopic scope on his knee. Should be back in a couple of weeks. He'll be out this Saturday, but I think Alabama's going to be just fine with Trent Richardson in the backfield and Eddie Lacy.
How long do you think Mark Ingram will be out?
Well, you know, they said that the swelling on his knee wasn't as bad as it normally is. I'm looking at probably Penn State, but he's probably going to be back for Duke.
Duke? Well, I think I agree with you on that. Which I'm not the coach, but I would probably hold him out as much, probably till Arkansas. I don't know if you want to bring him back for Duke or not, but I'll tell you what, we have a host of backs in the backfield, Trent Richardson and Lacy. Tell me about what you've seen so far with the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I'll tell you, Alabama's looking good. I've been to the practices, watched the sessions. McElroy's more confident than ever. The Alabama running back seem like they have an extra bounce in their step. I'm telling you, fall camp has done great things for these guys. Trent Richardson, I don't even see how he can be any better than he was last year, but it's just drawing rave reviews from the other players around him. The wide receivers, they're going to be better. They've got more confidence. Julio Jones, watch out. He's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way this year. And then when you look at the defensive side of the ball, you know, there may not be as much experience there. They have a lot of talent.
A lot of talent. I'll tell you what, when you have talent and a coach like they have in Coach Nick Saban, you expect some good things. Not only that, they're opening up in a brand new stadium. They've expanded the stadium, and they hosted San Jose State. What do you think about the first game of the season for Alabama Crimson Tide?
I think the first game of the season is exactly what they need with a young secondary, with Mark Ingram being out. Playing a team like San Jose State, they were 2-10 last year. They have a new head coach, Mike McIntyre, and there's no better way than to open up with 101,000 rabid fans screaming their heads off, getting ready for some Alabama football. I think Alabama's going to take it quite easily. I think everybody else thinks that as well, but it's just going to be a good opportunity for a lot of the younger players to get some playing time as they prepare for Penn State.
Great opportunity for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We're excited about that. Of course, we have to talk about one of the most controversial things right now that's going on in college football. The story that was heard just all around the country with Ole Miss, Ole Miss and Jeremiah Masoli.
Yeah, Jeremiah Masoli, that kid's had some ups and downs. Started his career off at Oregon, got into a couple of felony charges there, graduated from Oregon, decided he was going to transfer to Ole Miss. Well, normally that wouldn't be a problem, but he was kicked off the football team, wanted to transfer. Oregon didn't have that particular graduate program, so he went to Ole Miss. And the NCAA just came down a few days ago, the ruling that he cannot play for Ole Miss. He's going to have to sit out a year like all other transfers in Division I-A football. Just really not sure where they're getting that ruling from, though. It seems like they're talking one way, then they're talking the other.
Let's make sure we understand this for some of our viewers. Jeremiah Masoli was separated from the team because of felony charges, basically kicked off the team, but he wasn't kicked out of the university.
That's correct.
Okay. Jeremiah Masoli graduated from Oregon.
Yep, he graduated from Oregon, and at that time, he still had an additional year of football that he wanted to play. Therefore, he couldn't participate at Oregon. Number one, he was kicked off the football team. Number two, they didn't have his particular graduate degree. So then he picked a school like Ole Miss. He knew that he would have to pay his way at Ole Miss. It wouldn't be a problem. His parents said they'd foot the bill there. But once he got to Ole Miss, decided he wanted to play football, the NCAA deemed him ineligible.
Now, before he transferred to Ole Miss, he got cleared with the NCAA that said he could transfer to Ole Miss and participate in their athletic program.
That's correct. He did get cleared, and that's another reason why I think he, along with Houston Nutt and the rest of the Ole Miss athletic department, is really shocked that he can't play. Seems like an unfair decision. The NCAA says one thing, gets the kid's hopes up, he's going to be able to play this season, and then just a few days before the start of college football season, they just completely retract that statement.
Yeah, we would never question the NCAA, but it does raise some red flags. You have an individual who's made mistakes. We've had mistakes happen in life. Unfortunately, I've had a few mistakes myself. But at what point in time do you have that you can't get back up from where you have fallen? And I think it sends a message out to a lot of young people, sends a message out to the NCAA that maybe it's not necessarily about doing the right thing, but maybe doing the right thing in their eyes.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I have to agree with you 100% there. This kid, he's just 21, 22 years old. He's made mistakes. And for the NCAA to take away his only, I guess, hope right now in life to have a chance to get in the NFL, you just feel for the guy. Even though he's made mistakes, he needs another opportunity. And I hope the NCAA, when Ole Miss appeals this decision as they have, will think long and hard about overturning their decision.
And as history records, how often does the NCAA really overturn any decision? Remember, we had the landmark case last year with Des Bryant.
Yeah, 90% of the time, the NCAA, once an appeal has been thrown their way, 90% of the time, they're going to stick with their original decision, so it does not look good for Missouri.
We'll be watching close to see what happens in that situation, along with some of our other viewers, and of course, a lot of fans from Ole Miss will be watching closely as well. Speaking with conferences, of course, we talked about Missouri coming from Oregon, the PAC conference coming into the SEC. One of the landmark things we see going on across the country is teams changing conferences. We had Nebraska, who left the Big 12 conference, joined the Big 10 conference. Of course, they still have to play that Big 12 schedule. And now we hear BYU, Brigham Young University, wants to go independent in football, but they want to stay whack in everything else.
Yes, an interesting decision BYU's made. You can see why they don't want to go to independent in every single sport. They can't support that. There's not enough funds out there. There's not enough people like ESPN that wants to help them out in all the other sports departments. But in football, they've decided, Utah, they left. They're in our state. They're going to the Pac-10. So we got shafted. We cannot be Utah's little sister here. We're BYU. We're Brigham Young. We won a championship in 1984. And they're trying to get back on the national scheme of things here. They've made an agreement with ESPN. They're going to be on at least 8 ESPN games, whether that's ESPNU, ABC, ESPN2, and they're going to have at least one game on BYU TV. I think that's great for their athletic program as far as money goes, and for their faith. The Mormon faith is going to be spread into many homes throughout the country. I don't think BYU could have hit it any better, and they just recently found out that they just signed a 6-year agreement with Notre Dame through the 2020 season, and they have a home-and-home starting in 2013 and 14 with the University of Texas.
Amazing. Do you think money had anything to do with that?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Money runs college football, whether people want to say it does or not.
Yeah, it's something we shouldn't say. It really brings into question, should some of these amateur athletes be compensated in terms of pay? Because of these conferences and with these partnerships with the television packages are making some really, really big dollars.
They sure are, but these guys are getting compensated. They're getting a free ride, a free education, and I think that should be enough. That's my opinion. What's yours?
Well, I tell you what. There's no question they're getting compensated. There's no question that they're getting education. There's no question about that. But when you look at how many players from collegiate athletics have the opportunity to go to the National Football League, it's very, very few of those individuals go. But when you look at some of the schools, and maybe not some of your bigger schools, maybe some of your mid-majors, the way they really push the athletes, push them out front, and things like that. It's really business to these college athletes. And you're talking about young men, 17, 18, 19 years old. This makes you wonder sometimes. Don't want to get into that, but this makes you wonder, should they not get compensated? Well, speaking about compensation, we've got a game tonight that ESPN is going to have between two pretty good powers in terms of where they stand in their respective conference. We've got the Southern Miss Golden Eagles coming in to play, of course, a Steve Spurrier team from South Carolina. Both of those teams went 7-6 last year. Tell me what you think about the outcome of that game on tonight.
Well, first of all, how can you pick against South Carolina? Steve Spurrier's 19-1 in season openers, 5-0 with South Carolina. But I think South Carolina, although there's a question about the quarterback, is Stephen Garcia going to start? If he does, is he finally going to live up to his potential? I really don't even think that matters about tonight because they have such a good running game and such a solid defense that South Carolina is going to be too much from Southern Miss.
Too much. And speaking of Coach Spurrier and his opening game winning percentage, he has a winning percentage of .745, only behind, yes, Nick Saban. So that's the odds that look very favorable for Steve Spurrier and the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Yeah, I think, I just want to follow up real quick about South Carolina. I think this is the year where South Carolina, if they can get some steady play from Stephen Garcia, their quarterback, or whoever the quarterback is, South Carolina can make a push not to be first in the SEC East, but to be second.
That's right. One of the key players for University of Southern Miss will be out. Tight end Saunders, the 6'6" tight end, a big target for quarterback Davis to hit. He'll be out, I think, for the season. It looks like a season-ending injury. So we're going to see who steps up and is going to be able to hold that slack, because you're going to have to put some points on the board when you come and play a Southeastern Conference team.
There's no doubt about that.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us this week in this episode for the 50-yard line. Mrs. McMath, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
And we look forward to seeing you again here on the 50-yard line show. Thank you so much.